now I've decided to send both of my forces in from the sides, while my opponent's in the middle. Now I'm fighting without the benefit of any structures or base defences, or extra view range, but I'm hoping to get my opponent by attacking from both sides.
Battle control initialized.
Hello there, comrades and cannon fodder. It's Dvoid here. I've got a 1v1 multiplayer game. This is the first of 2 games I'm going to add to this post, 2 replays. This one is on Trask map. I'm using Russia. My opponent's using Ukraine for this one. I've got a very specific build placement for this map. I do place the power plant here so I can place my refineries, but I put the barracks there so that it's closer to the first oil derrick for the engineer. And I actually go for this oil derrick next because this is the closest oil derrick, and then the next closest is this one, where this oil derrick is actually closer to my base than that one is. So, but it's just the way I do it. It's, you know, I go to the closest and then the next closest, rather than taking the 2 closest oil derricks. I actually go for this oil derrick on the right last. But it's always good to change up your tactics now and then. But I don't use this map that often. But I do like it. I've mentioned this map before. I do like this one. My opponent's got an unusual build pattern. Very unusual. Because I place my second refinery close to the ore patch, because this is a massive field of ore. You may as well get it mined as early as possible. But I actually use the power plant and the war factory for build reach in this direction, because I want to mine the gem patch as early as possible as well. Now you see, I've taken my first oil derrick and I'm capturing my second. My opponent, they've captured the hospital. And now they're going for the next oil derrick. And there's a request to feature them in the channel post the games, so I'm more than happy to, at the request of my opponent. And this is a very good player as well. I've played some of my best games that I've got recorded are against this player. I got a couple of games, I think they were both on Scorched Earth, and it was just 2 really top-notch games. My skills weren't as good back then, but there was Iron Curtain use. It was the Iron Curtain that, you know, that helped me get through it, because, you know, this guy was obviously a veteran back then. I could be wrong, but it was, you know, he seemed very sharp to me. But he's a good skilled opponent, in terms of skills. Right, now I've got my build queue from my barracks, and I'm going to try and take the hospital in the centre. But what I do is I go to attack it at the moment I get my scout vehicle. So I don't advance, and the engineer's safe back here, but I don't advance on the hospital until I have my scout vehicle, you see. That's when I go for it. At this point in the game, you know, I delay a few moments. Even though I've got a decent force of infantry, I delay for a few moments just till my APC is close to help my early army group fight. Now my opponent has been going for ore trucks, and they've got an early service depot. 3 minutes. Yeah, I'll be building mine at the moment. And they've placed it, but they've actually moved out their MCV, their home base MCV, so they're not building structures at the moment, although they are again now. So it was a brief stop, but let's see, they've got heavy tanks underway. So they're building heavy tanks, and what about these ore trucks? I've got more. So they've got less ore trucks from this build, and now they're building heavy tanks instead of a second MCV. This is strange, a strange, unique build. But they've got a decent little force. I've only got an APC for my troops. And now you see I've pretty much mined the gem patch. Not completely, but all the other ore trucks except for one are going to the main patch now. Now my opponent's attacking the hospital. So I've left my engineer capturing, although I haven't forgotten him. He's on shift command, look, to escape. Now, there was a game on someone else's channel that mentioned, and it looked like I'd left the engineer, and there was a comment where I'd forgotten him, but he was on shift command, and you actually saw it and the image as well briefly, that he had this shift command, and I had to delay an attack and then get the APC. But I hadn't forgotten the engineer, and I didn't in this case. It's the same thing. But my opponent's got this small little army. He's on the go, and he's looking for this, and his timing is excellent. Is not that my opponent hasn't even checked here. And that's normally the first place you expand to. Now, they have expanded here first, and I usually do, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's the common expansion route, to be fair. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is the next best ore field. Why wouldn't you get that? But I do like to secure these two, and they are mined very quickly by the amount of ore trucks you have from here. When you transfer them, these two patches get mined quickly, but it protects your oil derrick, and then you can expand over here. That's how I do it. But my opponent, let's look at these army values. 12,000 each. My opponent's just ticked 13 each, so we're even. Now my opponent's destroyed my first oil derrick, and both of them, in fact. All of them. My opponent's destroyed the lot. And they've captured theirs. So they've got one oil derrick and they've wrecked the rest. Now, I've had to leave some forces here to protect this refinery because it's essential, but these are out of position because of this group of units. Now, it looks like he's actually regrouping everything together by the looks of that. So this force is out of position, expecting the enemy to sort of move around and attack somewhere else, but they've not. They've gone back. So I'm sending units around, and I'm also got my production here to protect this side. Both at 16. 16,000 army value, I mean. So that's alright. Let's have a look. 6 ore trucks each. Now, let's have a look. Has my opponent got their second MCV yet? No. Right, here we go. My units are starting to... My scouts have found the enemy position. That's why I've sent that tank in this direction. But my opponent, because he knows he's been discovered, has changed direction. Which is smart, but it's a very short change of direction. You know, I'll be there anyway. Now, I've decided to send both of my forces in from the sides, while my opponent's in the middle. Now I'm fighting without the benefit of any structures or base defences or extra view range, but I'm hoping to get my opponent by attacking from both sides and wipe those tanks out. But my opponent's tanks are out of position now, and this force here, I'm going to quickly sneak my APC up, and that's it. That ends the engagement. You see, ended it. When it doesn't matter. At one point, even if you've got units left, if the enemy gets enough elements and assets into position, you just lose all of a sudden, and the battle is over, and you can't retreat because you're surrounded and you'll get gunned down. And you know, just the moment where I snuck that APC in, that was the end of the engagement. Didn't matter that my opponent had a few units left and a tank. It was out of position, and that was the end. And then when the infantry were dead, the tank was just irrelevant as well. But I'm moving out my MCV, my home base, and it's run straight into the enemy's next attack force. And I'm like, oh dear, this is not good. So I decided to send it away so that if they follow it, it buys me more time to defend this position because I've got nothing. I've sent this force to attack, but they can't get back in time, so I've sent them to continue the attack while I gather everything else I can. Now this, I placed a base defense, repairing, and placed that flame tower. Now my opponent's followed it, so I decided to move in the best direction and angle I could to try and escape. But my opponent's chasing it. They know that one tank can finish that anyway, it doesn't matter. But it has bought me time to build up a bit of a defence, and this force here found that he hasn't expanded, so I'm going to continue and attack his main base, and that's it. I've caught his initial expansion, so there's 3 ore trucks there that I've hit. 2 of them are leaving, and he's brought back this MCV, which is his second MCV he's got now. But I'm attacking his ore patch. Now here we go, this force has turned back after destroying my MCV, and it's moving in here. I think my attention is over here, look, because my force has been destroyed. I got an ore truck, but I'm keeping this tank alive as a nuisance. And now the attack is on here. I've lost another ore truck, that's a shame. But I've actually, it looks like I've got this. I'm surprised my opponent pressed that attack. Maybe they didn't expect me to have units left, but this tank here, look, I'm going to send it on a little eco raid. And it should get the engineer if it makes it that far. Oh no, look, I've given all my units orders to move out and go on a small eco raid here, and this tank obeyed that order. Now, if it had followed its original orders, it would be here to kill the engineer and go on an eco raid here and draw attention away from where it is now. Look, he's sending an army, and I know where to defend because look, I've got my primary production here, so I know what I'm doing, and I'm moving ore trucks away so I don't lose too much if they attack there. But there's very little I can do. And this attack here, you see, I've lost that heavy tank because it obeyed the same order these units did. So, not good. And then I've seen that there's too much here, and I'm trying to fall back behind base defences and move ore trucks away, but my opponent just launched a hit and run. So he's got a couple of ore trucks, that was nice, but I've launched this attack here, so that's probably why he's turning back. But I immediately saw there was enough to stop me, so I fell back. Whereas we did the same thing, but my opponent had a far stronger force to attack. They took out 2 ore trucks, I took out 1, but they got away with more, and I knew this force was here. And what I decided to do was rally everything to attack him, but I've actually faced him too soon. I've got more tanks, but far less infantry, and I've engaged his forces too soon. It's such a shame, look. You know, they haven't even got any tanks left, but I just haven't got enough infantry to do the job. But I'm retreating with what I can. I'm still making base defences, and I'm actually still mining ore. I'm doing okay for that, but my army value is like just about 4 grand now. My opponent's got an 18,000 value army, so, you know, he's waiting for that expansion over there to guard it. Now I'm actually sending my MCV. I've just rebuilt one. So I've got 2 again, and it's about to run straight into that. And there's all these forces, look, and this is all I've got to stop them. So, yeah, not good. Although, he's going to go in the right direction, because I sent it in a shady position. I wanted it there. That's my engineer. He made it past them. But I don't think they've noticed the MCV. And I saw this force here. And look how many there are. I've got a 7,000 value army, my opponent's got a 23,000 value army, and there you go, I'm under attack at my ore trucks. And I've got to respond to this. Hopefully, I've lost 2 ore trucks now. I've placed another refinery there, but my opponent's hit and run. They haven't got any vehicles with that force, so they're right to. But now I'm expecting an attack over here. So let's see, what did he think? Yeah. They're regrouping an army together. This force, they do need tanks though. And hopefully the harvester won't give itself away, the ore truck, and it didn't. This refinery is safe for now. And I've got a 10,000 army value. My opponent's got a 28,000 army value. Let's have a look at the economy. I'm out of money. I've got 4 ore trucks because of how many he's killed. My opponent's got 6, so they're not doing amazing. I've done some damage in return. I got 1 here and 1 over here at least. But look at that. I'm responding to the right area. Oh no, he's only sent 1 tank. This force is a nice army, and it's going to smash me. So I'm struggling for cash. My opponent's expanded completely over their half of the map. But if I were them, I would have taken this. If I had such a strong position, this wouldn't be going on. I wouldn't have recovered like this. It just wouldn't have happened. Now I'm moving out with an MCV and sending this army with them. But now I've seen my opponent's attacked, and I thought, why not at least use this army to fight while my opponent's among structures? So I've got this small force here. I'm trying to engage the enemy in the right position, trying to defend my service depot. That was foolish because there's too much here. And I've set up this MCV so this construction yard can pack up and move away. And look, they've completely destroyed this force, although I still needed build radius here for base defences. And look, my army isn't all fighting at once. There's units there not in combat. There we go, but it's too late. Now I've set up, but it's too late. Look at the size of that army. It's too much. And let's see my army value now. 700 against 32,000. So I have no hope. And this that I wanted to attack, there are 6 flame towers in, you know, 4 in a row waiting for me and 2 more. You know? Waiting, just in case I get a few units spare to attack with. There's this waiting for me. So, there you go. I'm still got 2 MCVs. And I'm building units, but instead of defending this here, my home base, I know I've lost it. I can't stop that massive force. I'm selling up a bits, look. But I've ordered all my units to go and make a last stand here. No point defending this, and my last vehicle couldn't even get away. And my opponent is already attacking there before I've even sent what few assets I've got. So there you go, that's set up. And then now one's packed up, the other one can move out, and look what I've got waiting for me. 4 flame towers, very, very nice. And there's a tank there, just in case I'm mining any ore from down here, just in case. And there you go. My last expansion destroyed. I've got 2 MCVs, one's destroyed, and I surrender. So that's the first game for you. I'll just go through the graphs and charts. Look at the army graph. Yeah, that was quite even. But then I was behind after that initial engagement. It was a big defensive fight, and I lost. You know, I took too much damage. And my attack, it was quickly sent on its way, my counter-attack. You know, and it was a delayed counter-attack. You know, it was... Yeah, I didn't want quite working in my favour. And my opponent, look, they've got 4 war factories, which is why they can build tanks so quickly. We'll get to that in a minute. And obviously 7 barracks at least. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They've got 8 barracks, but once you've got 7, that's the maximum infantry build speed. And it's 7 structures for most things. Like if you have 7 construction yards, you can build base defences as quickly as possible and other structures. And once you have 7 barracks, you can build infantry as quickly as possible. You just choose which barracks they come from. So if you have 7 here, you would probably want to build more over here, so you'd have more than 7. And it just gives you the option of where to build your infantry from. And that's why you end up with more than 7. But it's essential to build at least 7. But once you're different with war factories, you only need 4. And once you have 4 war factories, your vehicle build speed is at its maximum. So there's the army graph anyway. Look how my opponent's army just took off too much. And earnings graph, yeah, not bad, but, you know, look how unstable my earnings were. And after I'd taken some severe losses in income, my ore trucks took a lot of damage, lost a lot. But my opponent, oh, blimey, look how many heavy tanks they've got. That looks like it's about 15 or something. And plenty of infantry. They've got a good, strong army. 38,000 army value. They could have finished that sooner, surely. But I lost 34 structures. They lost 1. I killed 151 units. My opponent killed 280. And I destroyed 40,000 credits worth of my opponent's assets. My opponent destroyed 92,000 credits worth of my assets. That was lovely. No support powers in effect. My opponent was focused on this. War factories, barracks, refineries and defences. The solid basics, foundation work. And, you know, they built up a solid army. Very nice. Production. Let's have a look then. A heavy tank is building every 14 seconds. Because they've got 4 war factories. So that's halved the build speed of heavy tanks because they're 28, I believe. So 14 seconds. They're building a heavy tank every 14 seconds. No wonder I was overwhelmed. Blimey. That's a nice build time for a heavy tank. 14 seconds. You better be able to supply that economy. And they're training a rocket soldier every 4 seconds. Because they have 7 barracks, they've got more than 7. And Flame Tower, they've only got 2 MCVs, so the Flame Tower's building at standard speed, and other structures will. Economy, they've got 6 ore trucks left, and they held on to their 1 oil derrick. I earned 94,000 credits, my opponent earned 116,000 credits. We've got a bit of cash left each, but my opponent's got plenty. So, basics, I was at 31 actions per minute. My opponent was at 36 actions per minute. And there's all your other stats and graphs. Basics. So there's the first game. Didn't end too well for me, but I'm going to go to the rematch and add it to the same post. So there's the first game, and here we go for the second one. Here we are.
Battle control
And this is a 1v1 multiplayer game on Scorched Earth map, and I'm fighting the same opponent from the previous game. I'm using Russia, and this game my opponent's using France. I'm here in red, my opponent is in this sort of puke colour, although units of that colour would be fairly well camouflaged among ore and things, so it may be actually a fairly useful colour in that sense. And for this particular map colour scheme as well, maybe it's worth having a colour for each tile set. Like for countryside, you have one colour, green, desert, you know, might be worth thinking about. Because I've noticed sometimes I've actually not realised oil derricks have been captured by the enemy because of the colour that they've chosen meant that on a bright map like Kosovo I couldn't even tell that the oil derricks belonged to the enemy because of their colour. So, but some people consider that underhand and shady, but whatever, like, you know, maybe worth considering. And here my single rifles are being picked off by an equal number of enemy units, so it's just not an effective tactic against a competent opponent sending single rifles out like this. They need to be in twos, and I've still sent this one thinking that if he killed a rifleman, this guy will kill him. And then there wasn't even an engineer there, but my opponent has taken this oil derrick already. I've taken this one, and now I'm going for the second one. I'm escorting my engineer with 3 rifles. And there you go, yeah, I've lost those 3 infantry for the sake of, for 1 rifleman killed. So yeah, it's not ideal. Although I have killed 2 units somehow. Not certain where, I probably got them down here. But my opponent's capturing their second oil derrick, and I sent this rifleman look to spot and notice they've captured that oil derrick already. So, you know, I knew they'd gone in a different order because I'm only just starting to capture that. I mean, I've just captured it, so I knew the order was different that they'd gone in. So I didn't know where the engineer was, but I placed my rifleman here, hoping that they'd put him at the back of the map or something. And then later I could possibly use it as a scout soon. My opponent's got nothing protecting the base. I was considering this and thought, perhaps, because of how effective they were in the last game, I need to keep this opponent down. I can't let him gain that strength and build 4 war factories, churning out heavy tanks every 14 seconds. But if he's allies, then he's going to be building tanks rapidly anyway. But I can't let him build up that kind of force. So I'm thinking of early aggression look and stuff, and taking the initiative is what I'm thinking of. But my opponent has sent this engineer to capture my oil derrick, but it ain't gonna work because this is basics. So my infantryman's killed him, and I heard him rank up to veteran, so I knew I'd killed an engineer. It was most likely that I'd killed an engineer, and my opponent is just really not taking this seriously by the looks of that. They've got 2 ore refineries, but they've gone for a radar dome. So I decided, right, because I'm not seeing much presence and that, I'm capturing the hospital now. I'm actually sending this first and starting army and going on an eco raid with it. I thought, right, if they're going for some sort of strange different build, then I'll test it and see. And they've got light tanks, and I do like the idea of allied light tanks in an attack force early. Like in a previous post, one player used light tanks extremely effectively, and I did manage to kind of counter it and recover, but it was very well done. So you know, you have to be prepared for them and stuff. But that's right, I remember this player went for helicopters, and I posted a game where my opponent went for a helicopter build recently. I think it was Mint, and, you know, yeah, they did it very effectively. But I've launched my eco raid. Go on, get that, get it. 9, it's escaped, but at least I've disrupted their economy, and I'm attacking. I put my APC to screen some of that, and now my opponent is using his helicopter. I've got a power plant, that's it. I knew that was something, and I wanted to save my APC, so I drove it away. I'd lost the rest. And then I sent a small force with a couple of rockets here, in case he'd moved out his home base or gone for an early expansion or something. Because I've got my MTV now, so no matter what my opponent's done, I should be able to wait for an expansion. But this isn't going to meet up with them, it needs repairs. Now my opponent is attacking my oil derrick with light tanks, so I'll move these forward, and now straight away I've got flak trucks, look, because I've heard my opponent's helicopters. And unlike before, as soon as I hear helicopters or artillery or whatever, I counter them with these flak trucks. Now, as soon as I built my MTV, I actually built 3 flak trucks. I don't have heavy tanks yet, because it's that essential to stop these things killing your rocket soldiers and that. So essential. So now I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Now, you have to watch out they don't lead your force, because helicopters will rip them apart. So I've lost 2 straight away, but what I want to try and do is catch them on the way back when they're run out of ammo. And I couldn't catch them, look, they got away. But, you know, he's aware, he's got to watch it. And I lost some troops to a helicopter there. Now there's a smaller group of light tanks. No repairs done here. And there's a small force of light tanks at the back of my base. I've got a 10,000 army value. My opponent's got 17,000 army value. I'm in trouble, and now my next expansion's being attacked. He's run over my engineer and is attacking my construction yard, and can't use these flak trucks. They'll be just annihilated by light tanks. So these forces are being run around the map, like, you know, being led around. Stupid. And I have to try and predict where he's going to attack next, and I know I've got nothing here, although I have to keep replacing my flak truck numbers. But here comes the helicopters, look, and I've started to produce heavy tanks now. I've got a couple, and look here, I've lost those flak trucks. Now let's see if I can catch them. My flak trucks, there's one. Yeah, he's done for. Go on, keep going. And the helicopter got it. The light tank is a perfect counter for a flak truck. They're lethal against them, but the heavy tank is a perfect counter to a light tank, so have some of that. And I've got flak trucks with this force, and I'm advancing, and I know I'm not seeing any strength. I'm not seeing solid large armies. I'm seeing specialist stuff, although there's plenty of light tanks there. And look, I've got very little to stop them. This is a problem, and there you go. There's a big bunch of 5 helicopters, plenty of troops. I've got to watch this. And also this. Look, it's an eco raid waiting, but there's only 1 ore truck there. I'm expanding. I've got an expansion here. My opponent's expanded. So let's try not to miss. I've got my main force here, and my opponent's attacking with light tanks. Let's see if yes, I have got these units responding. And now the light tanks have moved away. They're going to attack here next, I'm thinking. So I'm expecting them to move around here, but instead they came straight for me. And I've attacked. The helicopters have gunned everything down. My main army, massacre. I've saved the APC and a heavy tank and a rifleman. So that was my main army. I'm at 8,000 and my opponent's at 14,000. So they managed to keep managing to kill my army. I've lost an ore truck. Let's check on the economy situation. 6 ore trucks to my opponent, 7. And they're building up a swarm of light tanks. They've caught this force retreating, look. Caught them out completely. They can't escape. Light tanks are too fast. But immediately I'm knowing I have to keep up the pressure. And I've got 1 oil derrick. My opponent's got 2. And I didn't want to give away that I was here, so I'm gathering what forces I can, but I still know I have to defend my base. This is very difficult knowing what to send and what not to, and I know I have to have flak trucks at the front line because of these blasted helicopters. So here you go, it's a very small attack force. and they can pick out the missiles very effectively and then strip away the last of your infantry. But I brought a flak truck, and now I thought, right, I've got these heavy tanks. They can do a bit of damage, and there's a force here attacking. But I'm ready for them. I've got this force, and these things, unless they do a proper crushes, they're going to get wiped before they get in there. That's not bad. Getting some nice crushes, look. Very good. That's chaotic. And I've destroyed a power plant, but I'm sending these forces away, these tanks, and I've got an expansion set up now. And there, look, this is chaos. I've got a small force, and that can stop these puny light tanks. I've recovered a small force there, but this is very vulnerable. But I don't think my opponent knows that there's anything there. No, and they're not checking either. But there you go, I've distracted them with the heavy tanks, and go on, there's the power plant gone, and they're on shift command to get away. So that's drawing units away. My opponent's still got those 2 tanks there. I didn't finish them. I've got a Tesla coil protecting that, and I should soon have primary production. It should be here. But these tanks, look, they are killing the light tanks that are chasing them. Very nice. Look at that, and these guys ain't even going to catch them. That's still alive and ready to be made use of. There's a helicopter swarm, and he got a few shots off. And look, I've got no flak trucks in position, just rocket troops. 4 very close together, 4 or 5. Go on, get some shots off. I didn't kill even one, but I've got a frontline war factory, so my flak trucks are coming out here. And flak trucks build quickly. There's a force, look, to defend this, but I'm moving a lot of them out. Yes, my opponent knows. Tesla coil, perfect. Look at that placement, it was perfect. Now you can have some of this. That's how you deal with light tanks. Keep a Tesla coil ready to place, and some troops with it. Goodbye. What are you going to do now? Because you kind of got those tanks out of a cereal box, and they're crap. These things with double-barreled 105mm cannons, these came out of a factory. And I've got my flak trucks. See, these helicopters, they've got to back off now, and now I've got tech. I've had to power down the Tesla coil over here, but if my opponent does threaten me with light tanks, I'll just turn this one off and this one on if I needed to, or obviously build power plants. But I'm starting to redistribute my ore trucks so that they can't all be destroyed in one place. And look, we've got these small forces moving for the enemy, and my primary production is here. But I've only got 1 ore truck there, look, you see. And I know my opponent has been tried to attack, but there's only 1 ore truck. You know, it's no big deal. If there, you see, now there's this attack, and I've got too many heavy tanks for him. And my flak trucks are working. I lost a veteran there. Lost another flak truck. And there's another flak truck chasing. I got 2, not bad. And I placed this, but that was as far as my build radius reached, look. Because my war factory was back here, and I'm trying to place a refinery, and now I'm attacking here, finishing off the helicopters. My opponent's called it. I've got these attacks here. I'm targeting his power plant. And there you go. My opponent's called it. Congratulates me. And there's the rematch. So it was no easy game. Neither of them were. But I managed to kind of get a handle on it and win. And we'll have a look at the graphs and charts. And as far as I know, I was behind in army value. Look at the army graph. Look at that. I was behind all the way until the last minute or 2. Look at that. How did I manage it? It was because of his joke build. That's right. Helicopters. And there you go, yeah. Radar dome instead of service depot, basically. But my opponent had such a large army. Like, I don't know. But like I say, I did try and play as if, you know, to defeat this opponent. It wasn't thinking of a standard game. It was a rematch where I thought I remembered what I did in the first game and what my opponent did and how they fought. And I know they acted differently, but it's the same player. You know, you're up against someone that thinks in the same way. So there you go. I managed to win even though I was behind the entire game. So that was a good rematch, that one. Here's the earnings graph. Very unstable earnings from me. My opponent wasn't great, but they did better, I think. We'll see how much they've earned in numbers. But there's my finishing army. Not bad. Basic. Couple of flak trucks and some heavies. And a small force of infantry. I've got a 15,000 army value. I didn't lose any structures. My opponent lost 4. I killed 139 units. My opponent killed 233. That was all those helicopters gunning down my infantry. But I destroyed 60,000 credits worth of my opponent's assets. My opponent destroyed 47,000 credits worth of my assets. Support powers, I've got paratroops and spy plane in effect because I did actually place an airfield. But when I placed that airfield, I looked and I had nowhere near enough credits to start building aircraft. No way near. So that was, you know, that was at the end of what I could afford. Production, and we've got a radar dome building by some, must have been some sort of misclick. Tesla coil, infantry, heavy tank. Yeah, strange that. And there's the economy tab. I've got 7 ore trucks left. I hung on to 1 oil derrick. That's something. And I earned 95,000 credits. My opponent earned 89,000 credits, so it was close in earnings, and we've got a bit of cash left each. Not a lot. Well, here's the basics. I was at 31 actions per minute. My opponent was at 65 actions per minute. They were giving over an order a second on average, you know. That's some serious command work. And there's your score, final scores, basics, charts and graphs, etc. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed those 2 games. If you like what you saw, give us a sub and a like. And thank you very much for watching. Take good care of yourselves. And until next time, thank you and goodbye.
Battle control terminated.